Good morning. Mabuhay and blessed be God forever. Welcome to our online learning action cell. To formally start the program, may I request everyone to turn on your camera as we begin with the morning prayer, followed by Philippine National Anthem and the Gao City Hymn.
Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for gathering us all today in this important endeavor. We ask that you bestow your guidance and blessing upon each attendee. May we honor one another by keeping an open mind. May we voice our truth and listen with an open heart. Bless everyone present today, that each may be able to share his or her contributions and gifts. Grant good health and safety to loved ones left outside this room, and bestow peace and goodwill to all of us. We ask for your wisdom and grace to use our talents for the betterment of others. May the various activities related to this day be a success through your intervention. In gratitude, we offer this prayer in your name. Amen. Dear Heavenly
Hindi ka na mag-mic, Ma'am Neri. Sa tipoy buhay, yan na nakakit, ipapasisi, sa nagagat, sa sipit, sa langit mo ay nalagang mula sa pagkakinamahal. Ang isang ng watawat ko'y tagumpay na nagniliglig. Ang bituin at araw niya kailan makaipatigil mo. Parang araw ng walhati ng sinta, ko'y langit sa piling mo. At kaya nga bang kay mamari, na mamatay ng dahil mo. So amazing, beautiful Ikaw City, a lovely place we call our own. Tourist hills and mountains, plains and rich blue sea, where we all love to grow. Known traditions, culture, and treasured history, all tell how richly blessed are we. Oh, I love my place, my Ikaw City. It's a home so dear to me. Under March, labor and loss, the city's road is in your hand. No other labor and loss, let your goodness everywhere. Shine, oh, shine, labor and loss, take the torch to every land. Like Jane, child, labor and loss, sings and scandals in every land. We have faith, we believe in God, it's our strength from day to day. We keep striving, we keep the fire, God in love and dignity. Through all hardships of life, 55 barangays of Ikaw City firmly stand in unity. Our mission, vision, and philosophy, achieving real prosperity. Heroes brave have died, they fight for liberty, with heritage we To present the attendance of this online learning action cell, may we request on the line Miss Anjanette P. Solomon to do the honor.
Good morning, everyone. In today's program, I am tasked to present the total number of participants. We have 10 males, 21 females, and 2 speakers for the total of 33 participants.
Thank you so much, ma'am. All right, at this juncture, may we call on our ever dynamic principal, Miss Cynthia B. Resser, for her opening remarks. Let's send her big claps.
Okay, good morning. Good morning from the Philippines. Good morning to Malaysia from the Philippines. Good morning, Sir Hajwan, Sir Mark. Okay,
Good
so
morning.
today we will, yes, good morning. So today we will be having our online school-based learning action cell, which will be concentrated on the topic speaking in English, casual conversation and formal speech, and of course, listening in English, tips and techniques to catch main and supporting ideas. Then this afternoon, we will be having our SIP orientation and focus group discussion. And at the same time, we will be drafting our school implementation plan for school year 2024 to 2028. So that's what in store for us today. And I hope we will be enjoying the discussion of our Malaysian speakers, the very able and efficient Sir Hajwan and Sir Mark. So I hope today will be a very productive, enjoyable, and collaborative day for all of us. So here in Palapas National High School, we work, we learn, we grow together. Thank you and good morning.
Thank you so much, ma'am. At this moment, may we have Miss April Calisa to present the statement of purpose.
Okay, good morning, everyone. It is my honor to present to you the statement of purpose. Number one, identify and differentiate between the various stages of the communicative language teaching approach. Number two, evaluate the effectiveness of communicative activities in promoting language acquisition and communication skills development. Number three, create dialogues based on the stages of communicative learning teaching approach. And number four, develop the ability to effectively employ listening strategies in English to discern main ideas and supporting details across various contexts, employing techniques such as active listening skills, note-taking, and summarization. Good morning. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. It's our privilege to have our international speaker. But before that, may we have Sir John Edon Argamosa to introduce our guest speaker today. Let's give him a big hand.
Okay, good morning. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to introduce our esteemed guest speaker, Sir Hajwan, a distinguished individual who holds a first-class honors degree in teaching English as a second language from University Technology, Mara, with an impressive career spanning since 2012. At Keningau Vocational College, Sir Hodgwine has excelled not only in teaching but also in various leadership roles, having served as the head of research and innovation unit, international unit, and media and publicity. Sirhajwan has showcased his commitment to advancing education. His remarkable contributions extend to the literary world with numerous published books and accolades, such as the 2019 IST Illiteracy Innovation Award in the US and the Simeo Australia Education Link Award in 2018. Beyond his prowess, Sir Hodgwan's leadership extends to his role as the president of HIVE Educators since 2022 and as a member of the YCLI Council of Malaysia. His global impact is further evident as the Global Prize Ambassador since 2017. Notably, he has received prestigious awards, including the 2017 National Teacher of the Year and the 2019 TVET Teacher of the Year. Sirhaj One's diverse contributions encompass innovation, research, arts, special education needs, and exchange programs. His excellence extends internationally, as reflected in being top 10 finalist for the Commonwealth class story writing in 2016 in the UK. We're honored to have such an accomplished individual with us today. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Sir Hajwan Eden.
Is it my turn now?
Yes, sir, it's your turn. You may share your PowerPoint presentation.
Okay, yeah, thank you. So thank you so much, everybody. It's an honor to be able to speak to these amazing teachers, this amazing school, and also to the school principal, Miss Cynthia. We met in 2022 in Cambodia, and up until now, we are still collaborating. So that's wonderful. So I'm going to share my screen first. So this call is being recorded from the moment we started just now. So in case if you guys want to look at it again, we can always look at it again. I will upload it on probably on YouTube. So okay, let's just start with the first slide. Okay, speaking in English, casual conversation and formal speech. Now that's the topic that I picked. I think English language is very important, obviously for us in Southeast Asia, and I think English language are both spoken as second national language in both the Philippines and Malaysia, and I think Filipinos speak English very well, probably the best in Southeast Asia. Now, I'm sure all of you can speak English very well. That's evidence from the international programs that we have been doing, the exchange classes. But since we are teachers, it's also our job to teach our students to speak English or to communicate. So that's why I choose both casual conversation. It's a way of us to speak with people in a casual manner, which is important, and also in a formal speech. It's either a public speaking or maybe a presentation, and both are extremely important, right? So just like what has been highlighted by the objectives or the missions of by one of the teachers before, right? It has been highlighted there that we're going to look into CLT, communicative language teaching approach. Now, although it's used widely in English language teaching, but it can be applied in pretty much every subject because I believe in every subject that we teach, we require our students to be able to speak well, and not just in English but also in the mother tongue or the native languages. So there are four stages of communicative language teaching, and that is the first stage, non-communicative language teaching, and then the second stage, pre-communicative language teaching, and then structured communication, and finally authentic communication. So whenever we want our students to learn how to communicate, we usually structure them around this uh, this outline. So, just take a look at the first one, non-communicative language teaching. So before we start getting our students to communicate, we start with basically non-communicative activities that they actually don't communicate. So just look at it further. So remember the first stage, non-communicative language teaching. And this is very common. We usually drill the students like substitution drill or pronunciation drill. Obviously, before they start speaking, we are going to drill them. We're going to drill them how to pronounce the words. We're going to drill them to identify the meaning of certain words. And then we're going to get them to train them to substitute it. For example, like in this one, no, I live in, so people will say, I live in Kota Belu. That's basically my hometown. I live in Palapas. So, I live in Manila. So that's the words. So the students will just repeat it, right? I live in here, I live in there, I live in here. And then they're going to do pronunciation drill like lunch, brush, push. They're going to do it again and again until they understand it and, get better in it. So usually we do this in the beginning of our lesson before we get them to communicate, in which they will use what we teach them here, what they learn here in the next stage. So the next stage is, okay, it's still non-communicative language teaching. Basically, other than, well, the previous one was pronunciation and substitution. This one are words. So basically, these are English words. Home is tempat tinggal or rumah. So that's in our national language, Malay language. I believe both Malaysia and the Philippines, we have our national language, and then we have all of the indigenous languages. So we have indigenous languages here too, but obviously we use the national language in our mainstream schools. So home, what is it? What does it mean? City, what does it mean? Village. So this topic is basically about places, right? So we teach them what it means in the national language, so that they can understand better, especially for the students with lower proficiency. And then the next stage is that still okay. I'm just skip this one. The next stage, stage two. If you remember, the first stage is non-communicative language teaching. That means they don't communicate yet. They are just repeating it. They are just trying to memorize words, trying to repeat the words, pronounce them well, and so on. So the second one is pre-communicative language teaching. So it's not communicative yet. It's still pre-communicative. So pre-communicative language teaching is usually when we get them to respond to something. So we ask questions like this. You can show them pictures. So I took this picture in Sabah. So I basically based in Mr. Marklin and I. We are based in Sabah. Our school is in Sabah. We are Sabahan, which is very close to the Philippines. We can see the Philippine Islands from here. So this is a very common sighting in our village, where people build their homes on water. So you can show them pictures, and then you ask them questions like, where do they live? Is it on top of mountain? Definitely no. Is it close to the beach? Yes, it's in the beach itself. So the students, you show them pictures or text, and then you ask them questions and they answer it. So it's not exactly communicative, because it's pretty much they just look at the questions and they answer it, but it trains them to to develop that communication skills. Right? That's why it's called pre-communicative. So we can usually use visuals like this, and then we ask them questions, or we can also obviously give them a text, and then we ask them questions just for them to train to respond to questions, like to be able to answer a question. Because in communication, that's what you do. Somebody says something, you respond to it. You understand it, and then you respond to it. So Kanang lives in Town Gusi, Kota Bulut. So that's the sentence that they read, and then you ask them, where does Kanang live? And then they will answer, Kanang lives in Town Gusi. Kanang lives in Kota Bulut. So that's how it works. So it is a pre-communicative stage two. It trains them how communication works. Somebody, you need to understand what is given to you, the sentence, the utterance, the statement, you understand it, and then you respond accordingly. So it's called pre-communicative stage. So let's move to the next one. Okay, basically it's still pre-communicative language teaching. So you can ask them all these questions. What is your name? Where do you come from? And then they will be able to answer it, right? What is your name? That's very common. And then we move to the next stage, stage three. This is what we call structured communication. It's called structured communication because they will communicate, but in a way that we give them the structure, a specific task with specific template. The words are there; they just have to work on it. Right? For example, like this one, because if you remember, our topics is about houses and homes. So you give them one. It's a role play. It's either role play or information gap. So this is role play. So one student will be real estate agent, and the other student will be home buyer, and they're going to talk about buying a house. And so you can give them a template of the role play. Hello there, I am Sirhajwan, and then home buyer. Hi, it's nice to finally meet you. I am Cynthia, and then they will start the conversation, the role play. So that's what we call structured communication, where they will communicate, but it's structured. We give them structure, a task, a format, a template. It's not really authentic. It's not actually a realistic conversation because it's not natural. It's not a natural conversation. But this one is very common. I think we do this a lot in our class. So the last one is authentic communication. So you notice the authentic communication, obviously, there's no specific format or specific template, specific task. That's the communication that happens naturally. So it's just like just now when we log in, I'll say hi everybody, and Miss Cynthia say hi, how are you? So that's authentic communication. Communication that is not formal. There is no specific format on it. It just happens because in real life people do communicate naturally whenever we meet with people. So authentic communication is it's something that it's probably beyond classroom, right? Because usually what we do in the classroom, we give the students specific format or task. So that's about it. So if you remember, I'll just go back to that slide. Whenever we use communicative language teaching, there are 4 stages. Non-communicative language teaching, stage 1, stage 2, pre-communicative language teaching, stage 3, structured communication, and stage 4, authentic communication. So remember, whenever we want to teach our students to communicate, to speak in English, or maybe to speak in any other languages, we first start with activities that are not communicative at all. It's just to give them that support that they need. So obviously, you can always kickstart a conversation. People usually talk about hobby. That's a very common thing. That's a very common topic. Hobby, especially for school children, school students, right? They talk about hobby. Okay, 1 minute speech. The 1 minute speech is a very common speaking activity in English language. So you give them questions or prompts. We call them prompts that are very interesting, and just ask them to answer it in within 1 minute. For example, these are some of the prompts, right? So the students, they will enjoy responding to prompts that are a bit creative, a bit out of this world. Like you look at the first one. If you have superpower, what will it be? Which country you like to visit most? Or the best thing that happened to me this week? Okay, so it is within 1 minute. The reason why we say 1 minute, so that whenever we do these activities, this within 1 minute, that means it cannot go longer than 1 minute, but it can go lesser than 1 minute as long as the person is speaking about it according to the given prompt, right? So that when we do this kind of thing, the students or even for teachers, when you train teachers, they will feel less pressure since 1 minute, within 1 minute is very short. So let's look at these questions. If you have a superpower, what will it be? If you win a USD 1 million, how will you spend it? If you could change one thing in this world, what will it be? So let's look at. I'm just going to take one thing. The best thing that happened to me this week. I'll try to do my part on that. The best thing that happened to me this week. Well, the best thing that happened to me this week was to be able to speak in front of these amazing teachers from Palapas High School that is in the Philippines. It's definitely an honor to be able to speak across uh, Southeast Asia, across the border, virtually, where we are able to share our ideas, exchange ideas, uh, learn and grow together and be better together. And it's such an honor to me. this week alone. I mean, this not just in this week. Maybe it's the best thing that happened to me in this month, or could be this year. So that's all. So that's just an example of um, of 1 minute speech or within 1 minute speech, right? Based on this prompt. So I'm just going to ask: is there anyone from the audience, from the teachers here, that would like to try this 1 minute speech? If you would like to give it a try, that would be wonderful. Uh, since it's a speaking activity, so we don't use the chat, but we use the microphone. We unmute and speak up. So yeah, there will be the topics are very interesting. Something that when the students get the topics, or even teachers, when we do teacher training, they will be very invested in it, right? Um, so it could be in the form of question, or it could be in the form of instruction, like list 3 things you wish to learn this year. So that's pretty much instruction. So let's look at the next one. Okay, dialogue. So in casual conversation and in role play, you can always get the students or even the teachers to do dialogue. So that, I mean, obviously, if they do role play, if they do information gap, they are going to do dialogue. Visuals are very helpful, and whenever we get the students to talk, role play or dialogue, it is best to do it in pair. So 2 students doing it together, one student A and then the other one is student B. So usually it will start with, you know, somebody makes a statement. Look at this one. It's a busy nightlife. There's no way we can have our quiet dinner out there tonight. And then it could end up with question, but it starts with a statement, and then the person B will respond to that question. So usually statement and questions, these are the 2 sentences that the students will draft or write, and then put it say it during their in their presentation of the dialogue, right? So, so the students the students, they sometimes can be very, it's really good to use visuals for dialogue, because whenever you show them visuals, and these are some of the movie scenes that I took from the internet. So whenever you show them this situation, this movie scene, it's interesting. It's not something that you see every day. So it really gets them to be creative, to be imaginative. Like, what is the dialogue that is happening here? What kind of conversation that is happening here between A and B, between the two persons, right? So you look at this picture, they discovered a box, in a like a secret dungeon maybe, and then they probably discussing what to do with it. So the students can be really creative with it. And then we look at the next one. So this one, it's from an action film. So there's an action going on. It's a chaotic atmosphere. So they were running from something, obviously. So whenever you show this picture to the students, ask them to write a dialogue. So they could generate many possibilities with the dialogue. And of course, I'm not so sure in I'm not so sure in the Philippines, but in Malaysia, K drama is very popular. So whenever you show them like pictures from K drama, K-pop, Korean movies, Korean dramas, they got very excited, especially the girls. So whenever you use this kind of picture, obviously it's from a K drama, K movie scene. They got very excited, especially the girls, and they like to, write dialogue on this. So this one is like 2 persons. I believe they were on a bus. So 6 journalistic questions. That's what we call it. I think we all know what is this. So basically, what, who, where, when, why, and how. They are very common in everything, in every single thing, and we learn them since we were little. Uh, but the thing about these 6 journalistic question is that I'm just going to put it here because in the next activity, other than dialogue and role play information gap. Another activity that we can do with the students is interview. So interview, it's a little bit more formal, and it's a it's basically like a form of role play, but it is a very specific situation when you interview a person. I mean, the purpose is to get in certain type of information from a person. So let's say here, it's an interview. It's a So you use the WH question, the sixth question, to get information from somebody, and also to draft the answers according to the question. So let's say this one, it's Amin and Dan. Amin is a journalist, Dan is a flood victim. So flood is very common in Malaysia. We experience floods in many parts of the country every year. So the journalist is like asking, what were you able to save from your house? And then the flood victim said, only tell the documents. And then journalists say, where are you staying now? How do you think this flood happened in the first place? And then the flood victim answered the question. So that's the thing about interview. It is actually to elicit or to get a very specific types of information, and that's why journalistic questions are very useful. So it's not like a typical role play where people just talk casually, but this one it has a very specific purpose. So interview is a very common activity that can be very interesting for the students to do. So of course you can also get them to to think more, to think beyond. Using visuals will be helpful. Just like if it's an interview and you put them in certain situations, like journalists, for example, or reporters. So you show them pictures, and then by just looking at the pictures, what questions you'll be asking? What do you want to know more about this person, this lady who was crying, and then the children who look very confused, who look very sad? And then you look at this picture. So what question will you ask this firefighter? Obviously, a tragedy has just struck, and there's a dog, there's a firefighter. They were looking for something clearly, And I think this picture was taken from Malaysia. There was a landslide, I think, about 2 years ago. Okay, and then this person, he's the hawk eye in Marvel. So I think he was hospitalized a few years ago. So when you look at this kind of patient, like what questions will you ask? So asking them to using visuals is always helpful. Well, one of the things that we can do is just to get the students like all rile up and pump up for interview, is just to put them in pair and ask them these random questions. So they work very, very well with the students, even with the students of lower proficiency. So you could see here, what's your favorite movie? Okay, that's very common. And then like question number 7, on a scale of 1 to 10, how excited are you about life right now? So it's very interesting for the students to say, oh, it's 10, it's 11, or it's 5, it's 4, and then they will like give reason why. And then you look at number 9, beach party or romantic dinner. So obviously for somebody who is in love, they will say romantic dinner. But for those who are just like socializing with their friends, they just love hanging out with their friends, they will go with beach party. So and then when was the last time you cried? This is a very interesting question when the students are asking each other, when was the last time you cried? Some of the students, they were saying, oh, I cried, like the last time I cried was last year. Okay, fine. Some of them were saying like, oh, I cried this morning. That was the last time I cried, like this morning. And this is very common among the girls. I cried last night, I cried this morning. And it's interesting to know. And some of them like, who was the last person you sent a text to? So that's really interesting. But then most of them, they were saying it's their mom, because sometimes we don't call our mom, we just send a text message. I thought that's very common to send a text message to your mom. Or who was the last person you talked to on the phone? So people were like thinking, who was the last person that I talked to? Like your mom, your boyfriend, your girlfriend? They were like really thinking. It's a very simple question to get them to think and of course to answer. And some of them offer choices, right? Like sunglasses, and then there's just a question, and somebody said, "Oh no, no, I don't like sunglasses." Somebody, yeah, sunglasses, it's good. Or hairstyle, what kind of hairstyle they like, and hugs or kisses, right? I think most of my students, they were saying hugs. They don't like to kiss, but kisses can happen in many ways. It doesn't have to be like a what do you call it, romantic kisses. Here, I mean, parents parents and their children they are kissed all the time. And the last question, number 25, who is your crush? So, and it's very, maybe for us, it's not exactly, we are much older, so who is your crush is not really a relevant question for most of us, but for the students, they always have crushes, right? So that's very interesting as well. So these activities, it really helps the students to get all excited to speak. Okay, formal speech. So just now we were focusing on more like a casual conversation, but there's also a formal speech. It's like a public speaking. I think public speaking or speech competition, imagine that. That's very common worldwide. So formal speech obviously is a type of speech that use formal language in a very formal environment. But it's like when we do presentation, class presentation, that's a little formal. Okay, and it can be an individual one, like a presentation that's individual, but it could be a group discussion as well. So let's look at it. Okay, outline of individual speech. So whenever we teach students to speak, and whenever we learn to write a speech, it's just like writing an essay. Writing an essay and doing a speech, they have almost exactly the same structure. You start with introduction, and then you have your main points, your main ideas in your body, and then you conclude it, conclusion, right? So this is the very common outline for speech. If you look at it, it's just like an essay writing. So types of speeches. So at our school, vocational college, we do have a subject. It's called English for Communication, specifically for teaching the students. And one of the tasks is to teach the students to speak. So there are four types of speeches: informative, demonstrative, persuasive, entertaining. So these speeches, they speak for themselves. These type of speeches, they speak for themselves. And it's very interesting because when we teach our students, especially for vocational students, these speeches are very relevant actually. So let's look at the first one, informative. So informative speech is just you telling it's like the person telling the audience certain information. Okay, for example, like a teacher telling students about earthquakes. What is earthquake? Where does it happen? What are the effects of earthquake? Why can it happen? And so on. Or a student talking about her research, or it can be just any topic in our classroom or in our context. Right? You talk about the importance of protecting refugee. Or maybe the benefits of exercise. That's a bit boring, but yeah, you're giving information. Or you can talk about certain building like Tower of London, and what's so special about it. So that's informative speech. Remember the word information, you are just giving information. The next type of speech is demonstrative. This is more interesting because you are doing something, you are demonstrating something. It's a demo. So you are showing your audience how something is done. So this suits our students very well, vocational students, because they have skills, they can do many things, and they are using this speech to show people how to do certain things. Right? Imagine it's like when you watch uh, content like on social media, like YouTube, TikTok, and people are showing how to bake a cake, how to start your own blog, how to go for a hiking, and how to dive, how to learn to swim. So it's a demonstrative one. I mean, you are not just giving information, but you are showing how it's done. And it's best if you can do it with the actual action, like how to bake a cake, and then when you deliver the speech, you are actually baking the cake. Well, I think doing it live is a bit difficult to bake a cake, but maybe you can have videos, or you can already have the cakes there ready, and then you are showing it how it's being decorated and so on. But yeah, it's it's demonstrative. It's showing people how to do something. It's teaching them how to do something. So persuasive, that is a speech. It's like a politician, or politicians usually do this. Persuasive, it comes from the word persuade. So you are trying to get your audience to do something. It's like you could see here. So to do something, to take action. Let's say the environment. So by the end of your speech, you are telling this audience, let's just start planting trees. Let's start not using plastic, single-use plastics. So that's the thing about persuasive. Or maybe you talk about organ donation or blood donation, and by the end of the let's say organ donation, so by the end of your speech, people start to register for as organ donors. So that's persuasive. It's how you are persuading them to do something. And the last one is entertaining. Entertaining, it's a speech to, well, like a comedian speech, like a stand-up comedy. You say something, and then you make jokes, and then people laugh, right? Like a wedding, special occasion during wedding. So it's a very important type of speech too. But I would say the entertaining speech is probably the riskiest one because you might give a speech and people are not entertained at all, or you might make a joke and people don't laugh at all. And usually when we teach our students all these four types of speech, we don't advise them to do entertaining speech. And so far, I think nobody did entertaining speech. It's just a little too risky, and it's very context based. But like here, like special occasion during wedding, and then they might say something offensive. When you do entertaining speech, but obviously it's very important, and I think most people do this the kind of entertaining speech. Like in a ceremony, right? Like a wedding ceremony, and so on, Christmas party. But it's something more natural, I believe. So choosing a topic, that's very interesting. When we want to deliver a speech, it's important to choose a topic that we are interested. That's very important. We are very interested in the topic. We know a lot about the topic, or at least we can do more research about the topic. And also our audience is interested in the topic, right? Otherwise, if it's something that we are not interested in, we are going to get bored. And our audience is not interested in the topic, they are going to get bored, right? And it's something that we need to be good in talking about, right? Because I remember in my recent situation, and I think Mr. Marklin can relate to this. We were teaching our students to deliver a speech, and then one of my students, she decided to talk about Chinese New Year custom, and she's not a Chinese. So as she delivered her speech, people started asking questions, and she couldn't answer them. She was so uncertain about the answers. So that's where she made the mistake with the topic. She picked a topic that she didn't really understand very well, maybe because she wasn't a Chinese, and then she talked about Chinese New Year custom. So it's something like that, and it seemed like the audience know a lot more than her. They started asking questions, and the audience were answering the question. So that's the thing. We need to pick a topic that not just we are interested in, but we know a lot about it, or at least we know we can do research a lot about it, so that we don't face that certain situation where people ask questions and we don't know how to answer them. Okay, so most of the time people will choose topics that are personal to them. So obviously you can always talk about yourself, your own experience, your own perspective with it. So this is just one way of doing it. When we deliver a speech, obviously you can have a topic, and then you go with why, and then you go with what, and then you have 3 points, and then why you explain the reasons, and then how you show it, how it's done, or you you explain the examples. So this kind of structure is very common. Mr. Marklin and I, we use this to teach the students on a specific exam that they have to take if they want to go to university. But it's just a structure. It doesn't mean that it needs to be that you need to follow it exactly. It's just to help the students to think about what they're going to say. Um, So there's also the W's and H of public speaking. So I think you're very familiar. The five W's and one H. Again, it's who, what, when, where, why, and how when you deliver a speech. But this one is not about you asking the questions and getting the information for that, but you are using this question to draft the context of your audience. And I thought that's very interesting. Like who, so when you deliver a speech, when you want to do a presentation, you think about who is your target audience, who will be listening to you. That's very important because you want to talk about something that they can relate to, and then you feel like you are speaking to them directly. And what, obviously, what are you going to talk about? And then when. So when is that whenever you give a talk to a presentation to your audience, you want them to take action. Let's say, but then when is it going to be? Is it now? Is it later? So if you talk about elections, so there will be like in Malaysia, but 2 years from now, they need to start making decision for election, so something like that. And where? So where refers to location. So whenever we talk about it, is it happening in Manila? Is it happening in Sabah? And then if it happens in Manila, which part of Manila it is? So you need to talk about it in you need to use specific reference in your speech of certain places where whatever that you are talking about is happening, right? And then why? So you know like you are asking your audience to, let's say, save the environment, and then you are giving them the reason why should they save the environment, why should they start using single use plastic. Okay, so you give them a reason to do something, and of course, how is that action, right? So if you are saying them, let's save the environment, or let's donate our blood, or let's register as organ donor. So you, at the end of your in your speech, you need to show, like, okay, if they are interested in registering as organ donor, like how can they do it, where should they go, which website, and how do they register, what kind of information is needed. So that's the thing about giving a public speech. It's this these five W's and H questions can help us deduct the content of our speech. So there's a speaking task too, which sometimes Mr. Marklin and I, we use it. We ask the students to categorize their ideas, main point number one, main point number two, main point number three, and then they talk about it, like they narrate it, they, as if it's a storytelling, they narrate it from one situation to the next one. So they categorize it, and then they sequence what they're going to talk about, their narrative, from one situation it leads to another situation. So, and then the next one will be, never mind. uh, so this is one way of getting the students to structure their speech. So use of discourse markers. This is very common. The most common discourse markers when we speak, we use the word firstly, secondly, next, then, so that our audience, they know, okay, this is the first point. And then when you say secondly, okay, that's the second point. Then next, okay, that's another point. So they know to distinguish and recognize the points that you are talking about. And the other discourse markers, they are not just there to make the language sound better, but they also help us to what structure our ideas, like to give more depth into it. Let's say reason, because of, I think that we need to looking after our health because, so you are giving a reason. Or addition, in addition, you are giving extra information. Contrast, on the other hand, something like that. Let's say if you use electric car, you save more. You reduce greenhouse gases. On the other hand, if you use the traditional car, then it will produce more carbon dioxide. So that's the thing. You compare two things, contrast, and then result. Obviously, if you look after your health, as a result of that, you will feel much more energetic. Okay, it's a result. Condition, if, let's say, if flood happens, or if fire breaks out, how should we deal with it? So you give them a certain condition that might happen, and then obviously illustration is giving examples. Like, for example, for instance, such as, so this is very helpful when you want to elaborate your ideas, expand your ideas when you're speaking, giving examples. Um, so this is just a sample of English speaking task or test that Mr. Marklin and I have been doing for quite some time. So, it usually in Malaysia, and we have certain tests for people to go to universities, and I think uh, you are familiar with tests like YATAFEL, or there's another TOEFL. So those tests where that you have to take if you want to study abroad, or if you want to study in universities that use English. So usually there will be a speaking test, And then there will be an individual task and there will be a group task, group discussion, which the students both need to learn and perform. So this is just a sample of a speaking task where you categorize your points into three and sequence it. So I'm not going to talk much about it. So you can see here, firstly, secondly, thirdly. Okay, thirdly is not really a good word to be used. Firstly, secondly, next, and there are 3 points, and then in each point, the person is sequencing it, is telling a narrative according to that point. So this is to give more depth into it. Okay, and then you use linking words, right? Like here, the first reason, secondly, finally. So I did underline it here. Let's say this is true because, so remember the discourse markers is now. So because, that's a discourse marker. And then furthermore, a discourse marker, hence, because when you see here the word because, that means you are giving a reason. Furthermore, that means you are giving an additional information. Hence, that means you are saying, something happens and it results in something. Okay, therefore, that's also uh, the effect or the result of doing something. So that's the good thing about linking words or discourse markers. They help you to structure your ideas very well. Attention getter. Now, attention getter is that we also teach this in our course. It's actually used when you deliver a presentation or speech, you need to get people attention. So these are some of the things that you can do, that you can put in the beginning of your speech or presentation. You can always ask a question, anecdote, that's like a story, like a short story, a narrative, a short narrative. Quotation, you quote somebody, statistic, humor, startling facts, or reference. So let's look at it. The question, you ask a question, that's a very common. How many of you, or do you watch this? And the audience will respond. So that's a response question. But sometimes you ask rhetorical questions, questions that are not meant for people to answer. Like, how many more people have to die in wars just because few rich people are too selfish and egoistic? So whenever you ask that question, it will draw people attention, but you are not expecting responses, or it is likely no one will respond. But because it's a what they call it, a rhetorical question, something that you ask, but you are not expecting responses. So anecdote is a story, right? So you can always start your presentation or your speech with this one. Uh, it can be amusing or it can be serious. Like, a woman was walking along a dark, quiet street when she was mugged and then murdered by a drug addict. That night, a boy of 5-year-old lost his mother. So you can say you can immediately know that the woman who was killed was a mother, and she left little boy alone when she died, when she was killed. So it's a tragedy, it's a tragic situation. Okay, but this one is more, it's serious, but it can be something that is more hilarious and personal. Like, when I asked when the second one, when I first asked my father for extra money to buy new clothes, I felt so scared that he would scold me, but he didn't. He knew that I had grown up. Or it could be something funny. Usually people will start with a story that is funny. I was at a school field. I was so excited to perform my cheerleading, and then I fell right in front of everybody. So it's something like that. It can be something less serious and maybe funny. So quote, that is also a good way to begin something. Like, don't judge me by how many times you succeed. Judge me by how many times I get up when I fall. Nelson Mandela. So when you start with this, quote usually is something serious, and we usually quote people who are famous or historical figure, right? Or at least they are famous in that country. That's how it works. So obviously, some of them, these names, they are worldwide. They are known worldwide. But even if people do not know them, it's still a very powerful way to begin your presentation. And of course, you can always explain who are these people that you are quoting this from. So next one is statistic. You always give percentage numbers of how many people, let's say in Malaysia, 22% of people are underemployed. 22% of people, they earn less than 1,000 ringgit a month. So that's really, really low. That means a lot of young people are poor or something like that. Humor, You can always start it with a joke. That also works very well. It's always good to start something with a joke, and then people laugh, and it's a good way to start your presentation or your speech. Startling fact. So you know, um, you can always come up with a fact that will make people startle, like how many rubbish do we throw every day? How many greenhouse gases that we produce every day? Usually, it's quite startling. Or reference, you can also refer to the current situation that is happening. So this one, it has to be some specific or updated according to the current situation. So you can always pick your attention getter. So since it's called attention getter, we usually do this in the beginning of our speech. And sometimes some people they do it before they start greeting people. If it's in a like a public speaking competition or even a presentation. Uh, Same for group discussion. So most formal speech is in when we speak in a formal way, we are usually familiar with individual tasks, but sometimes it can be in a group discussion, especially in speaking tests. They like in Malaysia, the speaking test there's an individual one and there's a group discussion. So one way of doing it, it's called visible thinking routine. You claim and then you support your claim and then you ask question. Why do you ask question? Because it's a group discussion, so you want people to respond to what you just say. So that's why you ask question. It's a good way for people to immediately uh, take it from you and then continue with the discussion, right? So claim, in my opinion, I believe that uh, it is extremely important for young people to learn how to do business. This is because, and then you support it here, this is because the world is evolving and everyone, the young people needs to be ready for a world where jobs are shrinking and they need to be able to be their own boss and earn their own money without relying on people. And then you ask question, what do you guys think about that? And then the rest of the people in that group discussion might be able to respond. So you can always use this technique. You claim, you support, and you question. A circle of viewpoints. It's also a part what we call it visible thinking routine. You can check it on the internet. So circle of viewpoints, you can see from the picture here, there are two people. One of the person is in a small island and the other person is in a boat. So the person is a small island say, oh, it's a boat. Somebody is coming here to rescue me. So that's from his perspective. But from the perspective of the person on the boat, oh, finally, it's a land. He has been on the water for a very, very long time. So it's always good to get people to think about certain things from certain perspective, because sometimes we think about when we say something, when we speak, when we discuss, we always uh, think it from our perspective, but let's just think about it from different perspective. Like for us, we are teachers, so but let's put ourselves in other shoes, like from the perspective of the parents, from the perspective of the bus drivers, from the perspective of people selling food in the school canteen or cafeteria, from the perspective of the law enforcement, from the perspective of the students themselves, their parents, and so on. So a lot of perspective, people have different perspective, and they are all valid in their own way. So let's say this one. Okay, this one is just an example. Let's say we talk about Grab. I'm not so sure whether people use Grab in the Philippines, but it's like this e-hailing service. Like you want to get transport, you just use the app. It can be anyone can be your driver. So from different perspective, like a college student, they usually love being drivers for e-hailing service because they can earn extra money. Uh, Office clerk, people who work in the office, sometimes they do it, although it might not be uh, allowed. But then for taxi driver, let's say for taxi driver, if they are still around, it might cause them to lose more money because they are not getting custom passengers anymore. So that from that kind of perspective, it benefits many people, but it doesn't benefit, let's say, taxi drivers. And taxi drivers, they also need to earn income. They also need to make money for their families. So it's always a good way to get people to think about something from different perspectives. Okay, I think that's why in developed nations like in probably like in Australia, people they control the e-hailing service so that taxi drivers can still uh, have work. Okay, um, these are just some of the tools that we can use for speaking and writing: sentence frames, sentence stems, and signal words. So they are basically templates. Sentence frames and sentence stems, they are templates. Signal words, they are just like discourse markers. So sentence frames, they are more structured, like this one sentence frame. So you can get the students to speak. Usually it's best for us to do this for students who have limited language proficiency. So they have structure where they can speak on. Okay, sentence stem, because it's called stem, it's usually it's the beginning of the sentence, and then the students will be able to continue it from there. Signal words, they are just like discourse markers. They are there. Let's say when certain words is to compare, certain words is to contrast, certain words is to show cause and effect relationship, and so on. Those are signal words when you teach the students to use signal words. So accountable talk, it's uh, it's something quite new, quite recent. Accountable talk, it's gaining popularity in the developed nation, especially in the English speaking countries, like the Western, obviously English speaking Western countries. Is for the students to discuss, but in a way they also learn to disagree, which is very important. Because sometimes when we discuss, it's like everyone agrees with everybody, but it's also important for us to teach our students to disagree, even for us teachers to disagree and voice our opinion and our thoughts why we disagree. You know, that's how a discussion should be. A healthy discussion should be. And then you can look at the rest of them, like summarize, support, inquire, clarify. Now it's called uncountable talk because the reason why this is gaining ground, because sometimes people just make statement and it can be false statement. I'm pretty sure you are aware with the internet, with digital world, there are lots of things that are false out there. There are lots of things out there that people are saying, but they don't have any proof or evidence. So accountable talk is to get them to discuss, to think about it, to agree and disagree, but also to support what they say, to be able to find evidence to 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 prove it, or to at least to support it, so that the students are not just making statements, just random statements, sweeping statements without any proof as they like. So they are made accountable. So so this is about it. My session is supposed to be from 8:30 until 9:30, so it's almost 9:30. So I am done here. So I'm going to stop presenting now. If you have any question, and I'm sorry that it's a very one-way interaction, but it's okay. If you have any questions, you can ask me. You can ask me directly right now. You can also write it on the chat. Otherwise, I think I'll pass it over to the next speaker, my colleague, Mr. Marklin. So I'm not so sure how it is going to be. The I think the moderator is.
Hello, sir. Sir
Yeah, hi,
Hajwan.
Mr. Hajwan.
Can we declare first a 15-minute break before we
Okay, yes,
proceed to
yes,
Mr.
that would be
Mark?
wonderful. Yeah, that would be wonderful. I'm going to share
It
the
will be okay.
slideshow with Miss Cynthia. Okay, yeah. We need the 5 minute. Is it 15 minute break? Yeah, that's
It's 15-minute
okay.
break.
Yeah, okay, that's just nice for
Maybe
a
you
quick.
can join us during our snacks
Yeah, that's the thing. That it's a quick way
virtually.
to get something to eat. Yeah.
Okay, so maybe you can we can ask some of our teachers to express their insights about the discussion that you have done, Sir Hajwan.
Yeah. Feel free to do so. They can unmute themselves, or they can use the chat as well while enjoying their break.
Okay, so is there anybody among the teachers who would like to share their thoughts or learnings about the discussion given by Sir Hajwan? Maybe Ma'am Lauren can share her thoughts.
Hello, sir. Okay, your topic is such amazing, and it leaves in our minds that we should be an energetic, enthusiastic language teacher. And your topic give us insight how to what's that to be an efficient and effective language teacher. To be able to make our students a good conversationalist using the universal language, which is the English language. Thank you, sir.
Okay, yeah, thank you so much to that teacher. Is it Miss? What's her name? Okay, yeah, thank you so
Ah,
much. I really.
that was Mom Lauren.
Oh, Mom Lauren. Okay, thank you so much, Mom Lauren, for the feedback. It's an honor. It's very flattering, and I'm glad that it it the discussion benefited you and the rest of the teachers. So thank you so much. I really appreciate that.
Okay, so I think we still have another teacher who will share her thoughts about the topic given by Sirhajwan. May I call Mom Precious?
Good morning po to all the speaker and Sir Hajwan. So, your topic about yes, communicative language is very significant. All right. So the discussion is very significant to us, teachers, because we can really use that because there are a lot of students who doesn't know how to speak in the language, English language. So those prerequisite things, so just like engaging them in common conversation. So will enhance their English capabilities. So we thank you, sir, for the meaningful presentations that you have given to us. Thank you po.
Yeah, you're welcome, and thank you so much too for the feedback, ma'am. Yeah, that's true. What you said. It's the students sometimes they find it very difficult to have conversation in English language, to converse in English, and that is very important because for them to develop their language skills, they need to be able to converse in their language, not just in the classroom during formal lessons, but also outside of the classroom. So that's how they improve their English language skill practice. Yeah, so thank you so much for the feedback and for the comment.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. So we will be declaring a 15-minute break. Then after that, we will be back with Sir Mark. Okay? or their food.
Bay na mag-share tab ka na sa mga YouTube.
I don't know how else to say. I love you, I love you, I love you, I love you. I love you, I love you, I love you, I love you. I wish. Been walking in circles 24 hours a day. There's one more song I've thrown away. There's 26 letters and a million different words, but I don't know how else to say. I love you, I love you, I love you, I love you. I love you, I love you, I love you, I love you. I wish I could find.
Hello, sirs. We will be resuming our discussion. So I think Sir Mark is ready. I hope Sir Mark is ready. Okay, so she will be introduced.
All right, yeah, I'm ready.
And now we're back. We are ready to have our another learning from another guest. But before anything else, may I request Miss Kimberly Flordelis to introduce the speaker for today.
Okay, so Sir Mark will be introduced by our teacher, Ma'am Kim Flordelis.
Okay. Narinig. Okay. The secret to having a life transforming program is having a life transforming speaker. To our principal, Ma'am Cynthia Lacer, friends, ladies and gentlemen, a pleasant morning to all of you. Guest speakers are usually the final piece of the puzzle in making various programs a success. Today, I have the honor to introduce him. Our speaker is a graduate of Bachelor of Education teaching English as a second language with honor from the University Putra Malaysia and Temenggung Ibrahim Johor Bahru Teachers Training College. His excellence results in such incredible performances and awards such as presenter at ISOPOL 2020 International Symposium, sponsored by Simyo, Korean Grant Award GCED 2021 by South Korean government, Anugera di Kaula Bintang or You Are the Star Award by 2022 by Division of Technical and Vocational Education, Ministry of Education, Malaysia. He's not just a very remarkable educator, for he is also a leader that managed to lead a certain unit by planting progressiveness in the existentialism attitude that can speak languages such as English, Malay, Dunsan language, Murut language, and Kadazan language. And not just that, because he is a very athletic person himself, because he is he can also play rugby, volleyball, hockey, basketball, chess, pentathlon, and track and field. At present, he is in line in College Vocational Kenengau Division of Bahagian, Malaysia. Friends, it is my honor to present to you our speaker for today, Teacher Marklin Muilin. So please give him a round of applause.
Wow, thank you so much for that introduction. I love it. It's my pleasure to present to you, to all of you in the Palapas. I'm very happy to be here. So I'm going to present to you my slides. Okay. Hopefully it can be done. Wait, yeah. It's I think I have a difficulty here. Right. Okay. So how's everybody? Doing great? That's great. Okay, now I'm sharing. Yeah. So I'm sharing it now, my slide. Yeah. All right. My topic is about listening in English. So we are going to focus on the tips and techniques to catch main and supporting ideas. It is very important that if you want to listen carefully, we have to be attentive, we have to be focused. And the importance of getting the main idea and the supporting ideas, because we really want to connect or we really want to relate what we have known about, what we have known or what we have acknowledged about the topic that is being presented by somebody or being discussed by a group of people. So I'm going to continue with the next slide. Okay, the tips and techniques to catch main idea and supporting idea, I did this as an action research that I put my students into a group so they could be able to applying the tips as well as the techniques. So this is basically a research presentation, but I believe that most of you can really see and assimilate this kind of knowledge, this kind of information that you will be able to do it at your classroom, because it is proven that what I have done to them, uh, it's been interesting and they have done it quite well. So let's take a look on the abstract. Kaninga Vocational College, that is our college. The students, they are aged from 16 till 17. They have a very distinct yet peculiar inability. So they are unable actually to listen very well, as the lack of focus while discerning, categorizing, even climatizing chunk details. So if you have seen somebody presenting, there are many details that he or she is going to present. So you have to regroup all those information, all those details into charts. So you can have certain hints, certain relations to that topic that he's going to present. All right, so let me continue. Tips and techniques, therefore, are applied to develop anecdote for this disability that students may be able to master them and encounter learning process through auditory puberty. So my colleague just now, he presented speaking, and listening is also a part of auditory. So it is an output which human must speak and human must listen. But before speaking, human must listen first. So anecdote actually gives them a lot of questions, that they will be able to scaffold or maybe able to retain some information that they don't want to listen to, they don't want to keep them. So they have to be able to question themselves whether they are doing it right, whether they are listening right, whether they can really relate whatever they have heard to the topic that they are going to, how to say, evaluate or value. All right, so let's move on to this one, listening syllabus. Listening syllabus under TVET Malaysia, we actually teach them for about 4 semesters, 2 years. So under TVET Malaysia, Technical Vocational Education training in Malaysia, we do have some kind of this content standard that we need to really achieve every time we go to the classroom, every time we teach them about listening. For example, 1.1, understand meaning in a variety of familiar contexts. So they will be given familiar contexts that are happening around Malaysia, that are happening around the world, that are very familiar to them because they have access to the internet. They could know what issues are going on. So the ability to understand is the most important one, because when you listen something, you must be able to listen. So the focus, they have two focuses. One, to understand the main idea when listening to text on familiar topics. So they have to understand the main idea. Above all information, above all the details that are heard, they have to be able to understand the main idea. They have to pick one or two sentences from the information given. And focus B, they should be able to understand specific details, which is the supporting idea. All right. As for the learning standard, okay, for 4 semesters, understand the main idea, they actually have to understand independently the main ideas in extended text on a wide range of familiar topics. This means
Marklin,
that, yes.
somebody was saying there. Are you moving to the next slide already?
Yeah, I'm moving. I'm moving the next slide. Yes, fine.
Slide number?
Slide number. I think this was number 4. Yes.
Marklin, we are still seeing slide number 1.
Oh,
I was
really?
about, I was about to tell you, and then somebody wrote it in the comment. Yeah, I think it's by right.
Okay, wait a minute. I think I want to reshare again.
Yeah, that's the
Okay,
best way to do it. And
all right.
maybe you can just go through it again very quickly. Therefore, it's like
Oh no. Okay, okay. I'm very sorry about that because I really have no idea. The slide is not moving. Luckily,
I
you
will.
mentioned it. Thank you so much for mentioning.
Yeah.
Is it okay now?
Okay, let's look at it.
Is
Okay,
it moving?
can you
Can
try
I
to
go
move? Yeah, we can see it. It's abstract, and then listening to
upstream?
the.
Okay, all right. So going to the learning standard. So they have to really actually understand independently the main ideas. It means that whenever they have had some kind of listening audio, they should be able to clear it out from the information that is given. And then B, understanding specific details, they have to understand independently again the specific information. Specific information can derive from the key phrases or the key words, and perhaps you can get it from the examples that are said in the audio. And then let's take a look on our curriculum organization. Are you able to see this slide?
Yeah.
Okay,
Curriculum
good.
organization. Yes.
Okay, good. So in Malaysia curriculum organization, we do have the teams. For example, like semester 1, we do have the people and culture. Semester 2, health and environment. 3, science and technology. And for semester 4, we have consumerism and finance awareness. For this kind of action research that I did to them, they were in semester 1 and semester 3. So I actually focus on health, people and culture and science and technology. All right. For the pre-listening test, we do have these pre-listening tests, while listening tests, and then we do have the post-listening test. But in this kind of activity that I did with them, I did not do the post-listening because I believe the post-listening was not really applicable that time because because the result in the while listening activity, it was kind of good, so it had been above the par. Oh, okay, so under pre-listening test, it is actually a test. They will not be given tips and techniques. This is how to capture, no, to actually acknowledge themselves if they have that kind of schemata or prerequisite knowledge before they are attending certain audios to be listened to. Okay, for this test, I actually teach them about the language of song. So they are going to listen to one song, actually, only one song. For semester 1, hospitality cosmetology, there are 30 students. They are going to listen to the song that is quite latest in 2023 by Harry Styles, as it was. It is a pop genre. Because why I chose this song, it was because it was related to them. Either they knew about the words were being sung by Harry Styles. I really had no idea. But in the test itself, they could really manage to answer uh, a few questions. No, not a few questions actually. Gap text. They were able to fill in, and then they were somehow having difficulties in spelling. Okay, for semester 3, the technology electricals, there are 30 students as well. They are going to listen, they were going to listen 1968, Hey Jude by the Beatles. I believe in the Philippines, songs from the oldest era are quite familiar, um, quite popular, because this song actually is a is a worldwide phenomenon. So my semester 3 students were able to get the right words whenever they listen to this. Okay, for their language proficiency, meaning that their ability. Okay, so it is a mixed ability between lower and higher intermediate. They are in the middle of it. So having this kind of mixed ability really showed that they were struggling a little bit. They were kind of happy doing it, and somehow they were not able to decipher the audio with words in it really well. All right, my methodology, of course, we are looking into the task instruction. By listening to this song, they need to fill in the gap text in the lyrics with phrases that they have heard and understood. Okay, this song is going to be played twice. It's going to be played twice. Now, as you can see that students at their age, 16, they are so happy with the beats and the rhythms and the melodies being heard, being played, and they have heard it very well. However, when it comes to the words or the phrases sung or perhaps said by the singer, they couldn't really, how to say, they couldn't really spell it right. Okay, they couldn't really how to say, when they listen to it, they don't know how to speak it well, because the difference of slangs, the difference of accents between the speaker as well as the students' slang, totally different, totally unimaginable to be correlated as how to say, correlated in such a way that they cannot really write well. All right. As for the result, as you can see that there are 100 marks, and the number of students, I have collected them all, so there are 60 students. It seems that when getting higher marks, there are only a few of them, just 3 of them. It shows excellent understanding and excellent ability. So excellent understanding is in the brain. Excellent ability is it is based on the auditory organ. So they are supposedly to be able to understand it in a more complex question. I know filling in gap text in the lyrics are not really, it's not really complex, but it seems that at their age, 16, they are not really able to acquire that kind of ability yet. It seems that the number that is very high, between 36 to 49 marks, they have shown limited understanding and limited ability to guess the meaning of unfamiliar words. So they have this problem. Although that the 2 songs are quite familiar, are quite well known, is worldwide. Okay, they don't really understand. They don't really get the words that are being said by the singers. Okay, so let's move on the while listening test. This one has been, this one I did this one the second week. In the second week, the pre-listening test, I did it in the first week. As for the while listening test, they will be given tips and techniques. So the theme is different now. Just now I did with the song, but this time I did it with the documentary. So semester 1, they'll be listening to an audio. It is about Kaamatan, the Harvest Festival in Sabah. Yes? Is everything okay? Okay, all right. Okay, it's a documentary review from Jetlag Warriors. Okay, he's a YouTuber. They will not be able to watch the video, but they are going to listen to the audio only. As for the technology electrical students, they'll be listening to how Japan's technology industry fell, okay, into 2023. It is also a documentary review from another project that is the YouTuber, as they are the STEM students. And then the task instruction is by only listening to the audio of the documentary once, meaning that they are going to listen to it once, one time only. It's not the same as the songs because they have to listen to it twice. Without watching the video that is creatively designed by the YouTuber, they have to enlist answers based on WH questions, just like Mr. Sirhajwan said that WH questions, they are quite familiar. They are common to us when we are teaching them, and draw your conclusion of understanding what you have heard from the audio based on 3FAMV: feelings, atmosphere, and moral values. The 3FAMV are the things that they are going to be able to use all the information so they can speak. It is going to be post-listening, actually, post-listening. They are going to speak about their feelings, speak about the atmosphere and moral values. Okay? So the tips and techniques which were given to them. Okay, for the tips, before they are doing that, before they are listening to the audio of the commentary, I did give this to them first. They have to listen. They have to read and understand the task instruction before listening, before the audio is being played. And then they have to bear in mind the audio is spoken from the text of complex details. So attention ability spikes to 80%. Okay, it means that they should be able to be to say that they are ready to listen to the audio. Okay, and then they have to pay attention to speakers' tone of voice, intonation, stress of words, and attitude on emphasized points. It means that whenever a speaker is trying to say something that is very important, they will have the rising voice. Okay, they will have this kind of frequency in their voice. Okay, and so on. And then number 4, the tips for the students actually, and the 4th tip for the student actually, they have to keep their eyes on the paper, they have to keep their head on a bow position, and they have to breathe normally. Because if they are anxious to get if they are anxious to listen to the audio, they will not be able to get any information. Okay, on the techniques, when they are listening to the audio, they have to roughly write any hints. Okay, any hints when they hear from the audio. For example, about the Harvest Festival. Okay, they can write something about paddy fields. Okay, people, the tribes, and then the celebration. Okay, and the sound of gong. Okay, they all can write that as the hints. And number 2, they have to scribble the word that is familiarly heard. It means that the word that they have heard before, for example, like during Kamatan time, during Kamatan festival. So festival is familiar to them, during is also familiar to them, and Kamatan is also familiar to them. They can always write these 3 words on the paper. Okay, so they would be able to relate. It is the whole information that they're going to listen to is all about Kamatan festival, the Harvest Festival. Okay, number 3, they need to use scaffolding listicle. Listicle is something to do that you will use number. Okay, number 1, and then you'll write the information after you listen. Okay, and then number 4, they have to eliminate guesses after second time listening to the audio. So number 4 cannot be done because this task is only played. This task is only conducted once. So the number 4 cannot actually be done. So I actually skip this number 4 to them. And then the result of while listening. Okay, as you can see, between the pre-listening and the while listening results, in this while listening, they are getting better. There are many more students who are very excellent in understanding of more complex questions, and they have shown excellent ability as well. 10 people out of 60 people, and they have become average as well in the adequate understanding of more complex questions. Their marks are between 50 to 60 marks. And as you can see, shows very limited understanding. Very limited means they are very weak. It's getting lesser, or just two of them. So it means that having the students to be able to master the tips and the techniques to catch the main idea and the supporting idea, okay, it gives them the it gives them the privilege to be able to acquire the ability of listening attentively. All right, so my reflection actually, um, when I do the teaching the language of song without tips and techniques, I have found a few things that I would like to share with you. Number one, for the plus side. Number one, the students mumble the word as they enjoy the rhythms and melodies. Now, mumbling is not really negative actually. Mumbling is how you are hinting yourself that you are focusing on the word that is being said, and what you are being listening to. And then number two, students can listen to accents really well. It means that they try to mimic the word that is being said by the speaker. And number three, sorry, by the singer. Number three, students have pre-experienced memory of the song. So they know this quite well, some of them, because it's a worldwide song. And then for the minus, for the negative part, it seems that students write inaccurate words based on the accent of the singer. Okay, for example, like Harry Styles, he pronounced as it was. Okay, of course they have to sing like the American, but he is actually a British, so he has that kind of strong accent on the word was. So it means my students were not able to get that word correctly. And then number two, students listen to the beats of the song more. They enjoy the beats more rather the words. Okay, it's not really good because this one is about you are getting the chunk of details from the audio itself. And then number three, students hear vocal disrupts due to rhythm frequency. It means that the beats are too loud, and then the assemblage of vocal and the beats are too high. That's why they cannot really hear the words really well. And then for the interesting part, under the teaching the language of song, students dance actually. They dance, they hum, and they smile, and they are happy. So it is good that if my students are happy when they are learning something, it shows that they are actually acquiring and mastering the ability of listening. And students learn that accurate spelling is heard from accurate pronunciation. Okay, accurate spelling is very important for them because they're not really familiar with English word. In fact, in Malaysia, English is actually the second language that they're going to learn, they're going to acquire. It's not the national language, it's not the first language. And number three, students learn that details are formed relating to the title or topic. So details are actually from what they have been heard, and then they're going to collect them all, put them all together, and draw a conclusion. Okay, under teaching the language of documentary with the tips and techniques, it seems that my students focus more on the speaker's POI. POI means point of information. The students are able to get a hints as well, and they are experiencing familiar context. So at this age, the digital age, they are able to know all over the world, the issues all over the world, and they're going to use that kind of pre-experience and memory to really relate and connect to the audio that they are listening to. And then the minus part, students scribble more words but inaccurate spellings. They tend to scribble more, and by looking at the sheet of paper, it was horrible, it was messy. However, it's not really my intention to correct them that time. It is how they think. It is how their brain activation goes wild that time. Okay, and then students never eliminate guesses but keep them as answers too. Okay, as I told you just now, for the number four, the techniques, the fourth technique, I actually did not ask them to do it because they only listened to the audio once. Um, they still did that, the guesses of the word they have heard, guesses of the phrases they have heard. Okay, and then students overuse listicles. They use 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 until 20 list of numbers, and they forgot that they needed to actually to answer the questions that were on the sheet of paper. And then the interesting part, students can imagine or visualize the context. So when you are listening about something, I bet this is your experience as well. When you listen to something, you tend to visualize it in your brain. This is another brain activation that it connects to your schemata, to your memory, that you are able to see that, oh, this context, so by these details, you can actually conceptualize the context that into a picture. And then number two, students learn that every POI has examples and elaborations, meaning that if my students were actually able to catch all the examples and the elaborations really well, and then they could really form the main idea. And number three, the students learn that every detail is related to the topic, title, and so they must guess any possible vocabulary and the three F, A, and B, the feelings, the atmosphere, and the moral values. Okay, let's move on. For the illustrative learning, the students' feedback from cosmetology, they have acquired intrinsic tips that develop mental readiness, and it is a pre-essential to brain activation to attentive listening. So their mental are ready whenever they want to listen to something. So this is a good practice actually that will keep them at ready position. And number two, students apply extensive techniques to conquest any playing audio because they need to brainstorm. They need to gather main ideas. They need to get the supporting details. Because when we look back to the syllabus from our education system, they need to understand independently. Okay, they need to understand independently what main idea is, what supporting idea is. And then students believe the importance of attentively listening to intonation, tone of voice, word stress, and attitude that will give the main idea and supporting idea. Okay, it means that the speaker or the singer has intentions to say something, to convey a message, so they should be able to grasp the message from it. Okay, and for technology electrical students, they encourage themselves to be always looking at the paper so they won't miss out any gap or close sentences that they must fill in. Okay, so they are very focused that time. They are very disciplined, I can say. They are very disciplined because the room was so quiet that time. They could be, I could only hear a few scribbles, okay, a few scribbles, but most of them, they were actually listening very well. And number two, students use listicle to get all the main important idea as chunks of information. So listicle is actually a good practice to get to get all chunks of information. And then number three, students acquire the use of hints to predict what of next. So by by writing down the hints, they're actually able to predict something. Okay, so the poll on team, it seems that the team that I used to teach them about listening skill, for the song, 83.5% So it is a positive connotation. So the teaching, as well as the language of documentary, is also 87.9%. Is also positive connotation. It means that you at the Philippines, you can actually use these two teams, teaching the language of song and the language of documentary, so that you'll be able to develop the students' ability in listening. Okay, so I think this is a good result. Yeah. And then for CQI, continuous quality improvement, the 3FAMV. Okay, as you can see, I do not do this. Okay, there are no results actually, but perhaps someday I will do this for my speaking skill lectures or class. Okay, number one is feelings. They should be able to define their feelings. Okay, this one is under C1, under Bloom's taxonomy. C1 means that they should be able to say, oh, the speaker is angry. Oh, the speaker is very sad. They should be able to define that, because in a way, to define emotion it is based on the tone of voice from the speaker. Okay, and number two, atmosphere, they're able to decide. This one is under C6, connective 6. It means evaluation, yeah? Evaluation. When it comes to evaluate something that is going on in that particular situation, it is quite high for the students to do that, but it is somehow it is somehow a good practice for them that they will get the information from what they have heard. For example, when they have heard an announcement in the airport for the passengers to go on board, they know that the situation, the atmosphere over there is actually busy, it's crowded. So the announcement is given to the passengers actually to give them kind of quite anxious respond to that. And then number three, moral values. Okay, this one is they should be able to imply, okay, what kind of moral values that they can derive from what they have heard. If the speaker's tone of voice is angry, okay, one of the moral values that they could imply from that is that the speaker is actually showing concern. So they just imply. It's not really true yet, because implying is somehow like you're predicting what is going on when they have heard that audio. Okay, and then all these, the 3FAMV, all these can be measured by the Likert scale. Okay. All right, Likert scale is somehow that you will ask the students, and then they will give some kind of strongly agree, disagree, and then fair, okay, and then agree and strongly agree. All right, for the conclusion, I think I'm going to end this quite early. For my conclusion, after I did this research to them, students eventually have the ability of attentive listening, because it is developing and it presumes the abilities of learning styles like quick response, quick thinking, and quick listening. Okay, it is all happening in the brain. So in order for them to listen really well is to activate their brain first. And then as soon as students have achieved marked goals in listening, the students should be firstly able to do reading skill activity, then speaking skill activity will resume next. Okay, reading skill activity will come in between listening and speaking, because they have to actually write something on the sheet of paper and answer a few questions related to the speaking activity, related to the audio that they're going to listen to. So I believe that my students could actually have this ability from now on and from the years to come. I think that is all from me. I hope everything that I've presented here is quite precious for you all, and you can actually do this with your students at your school. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir. Marklin Willen, for giving your time and sharing your knowledge just to be with us virtually for a meaningful learning. Likewise with Sir Sirhajwan Edek for your presentation that surely engaged us. Terima kasih. And now may we have the spotlight to our fellow teachers who could have or who could give their insights on the topic presented. May we have Ms. April Palisa to give your insights about the topic.
Okay, good morning again. And by the way, thank you, sir, for being our speaker today. So I will give my reflection regarding the topic. So I do believe that the measurement of learning is its application. Knowing the different techniques in listening English will help the teachers to teach the students on how to catch the main and supporting ideas. This will promote better understanding or comprehension among students. It will hone their skills in getting the ideas as well as constructing and organizing their own. So that will lead or eventually enhance their overall language proficiency. So that will be all. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. It's a good
Thank you, ma'am.
reflection. I love it. Thank you, Miss April. Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am. And may we have another reactor on the topic presented? Let's give it up to Miss Jovelie Opera.
Hello, Miss
Okay, good
Jolie.
morning, everyone. So for today, I will give my reaction about the topic. So your topic, sir, is all about listening in English, tips
Yes.
and techniques to catch main and supporting ideas. So for me, sir, listening is not just about hearing, but also about getting an ideas of what it means. So these tips po and techniques can also give us a wide comprehension about the listening text that we are about to share. So the tips and techniques that the speaker discussed are very useful, especially in daily routine as a teacher. So that will be all. Thank you.
Oh, that's so nice. Thank you so much for your compliment. It's so nice that you are able to really get something from what I've presented, and hopefully your students will be able to discern some information from what they have heard, especially the audio listening and from the speakers. And I believe among all Asian students, they should be able to listen really well and get a chunk of details, and then perhaps they can use all this information, yeah, to gain more knowledge, to gain more information. Okay, because at this time I believe that learning style is based on listening more rather than reading, because we tend to listen. Okay, and this is a new good technique. I think that is all. Yeah, thank you so much, Noel.
Thank you so much, fellow teachers and ma'am, for your knowledgeable presentation. So at this moment, may we have this opportunity to award the certification of commendation to our guest speakers. May I read the citation? Republic of the Philippines, Department of Education, Schools, Division of Legal City, Palapas National High School, Palapas, Legal City. Certificate of Commendation is awarded to Dr. Sirhajwan Edek in grateful recognition for his invaluable insights and expertise as a resource speaker on the topic Speaking in English, Casual Conversation and Formal Speech during the School Learning Action Cell 2024 held on February 2024 via Google Meet, given this 23rd of February 2024 at Palapas National High School, Palapas, Ligao City. Signed by our principal, Mrs. Cynthia Sir. Let's give them a big round of applause. And also same certificate is awarded to Sir Marklin for his topic Listening in English, Tips and Techniques to Catch Main and Supporting Ideas. Thank you so much and let's give them a round of applause.
Okay, Sir Mark, Sir Hajwan, in behalf of the Palapas National High School, the teaching force, the students, the community, we would like to express our heartfelt thanks and gratitude for for sharing your time and expertise during our school-based learning action cell. Thank you very much, sir. And maybe next time we can collaborate again.
You're most welcome. Yes, I think we shall do that again next time, and we are very happy to do so.
Yeah, thank you so much. It's an honor for us. We'll be happy to do this, to continue to collaborate, and maybe next time, Mr. Marklin and I might be inviting Madam Cynthia and some of the teachers to online courses for us like this.
Yeah,
So
why not? Yeah, it will
yeah,
be interesting. Yes. That's good. That's good. Thank you so much.
Sure.
Yes.
Sure, that would be a pleasure on my part. Okay, so I understand that you still have your classes this morning, right?
yes,
So we
yes,
will
yes.
not be holding you for a bit or another minute. So